years, 100, 150 years, that's all. And they hold themselves out as knowledgeable. This brother tapped into the African spirit to bring forward this book. And our brother Llaila Afrika is here today. I know you want to hear me much more. So let's welcome the brother as we traditionally do. Sisters and brothers, let's give a warm, generous, healthy African welcome to our brother Llaila Afrika.
Hope tip. I'm not too stationary, brother. I'm a walk around.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you do, I want you to take.
We'll take it on out.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now.
We'll do it now. I don't like talking about health culture and health management today. Sometimes I just don't know what to talk about. So I usually ask people, what do you want me to talk about? So I know what to talk about. Because I really don't know what to talk about. Because I really don't know that much. In my world, I don't know that much, but people think I do. It's a difference between men and women. It's a difference between the way women show a disease and the way men show a disease. And that's not spoken about in European medicine. But I just thought I should tell you that. They have something that the Chinese try to understand about the female and male attributes of nutrition in the body and minerals and water, which they call yin and yang, something like that. And the Europeans call negative and positive, because they call the minerals negative and the vitamins positive, and they break things down negative and positive and yin and yang and all that sort of thing, trying to explain that there's a female and male attribute to things, characteristic, and these are characteristics of God, which some people call Libra, Leo, and all that, the 12 steps of the zodiac, which are the 12 steps of the ladder Shun, when Shun was lifting up goddess Nut and formed the heavens. So it gets kind of complicated, but in Egyptian mythology it makes it quite simple, in fact. But the way women express a heart attack can be in the center of their body, whereas a man expresses it on his shoulders. So a lot of times women get misdiagnosed because the Europeans don't do anything unless it's defined by the male definition in health. So we have been damaged by that. There are some dangerous things that the Europeans do in traditional medicine. Of course, the United States government admits that 80% of their diagnoses are dangerous and only 20% of them help you. They admit these things in their research and government pamphlets, which you can get for free. They have things like the ultrasound, which causes blood leukemia and cancer, which they use to direct needles in your body and take pictures of a baby and let you know it's a boy or a girl. That causes cancer, you know. And when they direct in a needle to go in and get some amniocentesis, that has ultrasound, and that causes cancer. And then they put the screws in the kid's head to monitor them. That causes cancer. I mean, they know all of these things are quite dangerous to you. But I don't really think you have to analyze these things. Everything that the Europeans do is either to destroy you or ruin you, period. It's just that simple. If they give you education, it's to destroy you. That's what Carter G. Woodson was talking about. If they give you $1, that's why all our money goes out of our community. If they give you $1, it's to destroy you. And if they give you something called medicine, it is to destroy you. It doesn't take that much of an education to figure these things out. So we have to be in the business of Africanizing ourselves and getting some Africanity back into our system and quit looking over our shoulders at what the Europeans are doing. Because when we built Africa, we were not paying any attention to them then, and we don't have to pay any attention to them now. But I'm going to talk a little bit of medicine for a minute here. I'm just going to pretend that we all were born naturally and that the umbilical cord was cut after it finished pulsating, and that we went through the rites of passage in breastfeeding, because when you take a baby off the breast milk, it loses its security and it doesn't trust nature anymore. It's also a sign of a manganese deficiency. That's why Europeans can take their baby off of the breast and put it on their cow or pig or whatever animal they're using to nurse themselves. And that's a symptom of their medical system. It has nothing to do with us, but they break the breastfeeding rites of passage so they can control you. It's a very filthy, nasty, disgusting habit of putting a bottle in a baby's mouth with cow's milk in it. If a woman wants to do that, she should go in the corner where she shouldn't be seen, and the man should go in the corner too, because it's his fault. I mean, it's just certain things that, well, anyway, we were born naturally, and the umbilical cord was cut out. It was finished pulsating, and we were breastfed naturally, going through the breast rites of passage. Rites of passage is a German term, just to make you not understand what went on. A German guy coined that term. It's an academic course of study. It's not a rites of passage. Rites of passage was originally applied to the moon, to tidal waves, to anything that grew and went through changes. It's called a rites of passage. It's just pinpointed and applied to us. But we went through an academic course of study that taught us how to be a woman, how to be a man. A rite of passage. In any case, we use it and we understand it because we Africanize it, but I have a thorough disgust with the term, frankly. So we went through the correct breastfeeding rites of passage, and we bond properly with our mother and father, and therefore we did not pee and defecate on ourselves and have the urine packed up against our skin, and then we would grease like a pig so that we wouldn't get a rash. You see, that's you try that. You try urinating on yourself and just have that packed up against your body with your bowel movement. See, that's what the Europeans do to themselves. But we've gotten away from all of that sort of thing because we have been colonialized on the continent and enslaved over here. I just want to erase a few things. If all the Vietnamese are fighting the Europeans, you call that a war. Everyone agrees. If all the Japanese are fighting the Europeans, you call that a war. If all the Africans on the continent of Africa and North America and South America are fighting the Europeans, you call that slavery and colonialism. It's a war by definition. We have lost more people in our war with the Europeans than all the wars combined that they have ever fought in their history. And we're still not saying that we're in a war with these people. 10,000 of us are dying every day on the continent of Africa, and we are not saying that we're in a war with these people. What do they have to do before we can say that we're in a war with these people? You know, so we're in a war for our health here in this country and all over the world. They are patenting our cells. They have patents on them. You can't even use the cells in your body to perform a lab test unless you pay a certain subsidiary fee. If we saw someone can use the blood cells in your body, they have patents on them, copyrights. That's how ridiculous this thing has gotten. And there's no way we can technologically catch up with the Europeans at this point with their racism and slavery and colonialism, which they're still doing. Their lab studies and normal levels in the hospital are based on all the blood they take of all the sick people in the hospital, and they find out what the normal is, and then they say, this is normal. And when you go in the hospital, they look at your levels of calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and electrolytes, and they say, well, it's not normal. And so they start treating you to make you sick. because where they got the normal from was all the sick people in the hospital. I'm telling you, I work in those places. You know, I did that during the so-called war, cutting off people's legs. I was a burn specialist. People come with their eyeballs exploded, things like that. Burns, that's all I know, because that's all I did during the war. So I know the things they do, because I used to set the norms on the lab machine. Even in the regular hospital, you set it so that you can get a certain amount of insurance coverage. People base their health on what their insurance company will cover. They say, well, I know I'm sick, but since my insurance company won't cover it, I'll just stay sick. That's really, you know, that's really gone there. So when we walk into their levels of normalcy, they're set on European standards. So they are designed to make us sick before they can help us be well. Then we have another problem. Since we have a larger, our bone density is higher than the Europeans, and our blood is different, as you know, and we have a different electrolyte balance. That's the charge in which your body it's rhythm, actually, because 90% of all the illnesses are based on rhythmicity of the body. You have an illness of rhythm in your body. That's what makes you sick. See, it's impossible for a European who lacks rhythm to diagnose you, because everything is done in rhythm. The pineal gland is a solar rhythm, and the uterus and prostrate is a lunar rhythm. The whole system is a rhythmicity. And when you're out of rhythm, you're sick. But the Europeans lack rhythm. See, when they go in the hospital, the first thing they're going to do is give them some rhythm. Electricity carries charges, which makes rhythm. So what they're going to do is put them on some electrolytes, salt and water, sugar and water, to give them some rhythm. That's the first thing they're going to do. Hang one of those bags, lactatic ringer or something, to put some rhythm in their system. Because their illness is an illness of rhythmicity. But they don't want to tell you that. You can't even read a papyrus without being in rhythm. I don't understand how people can do that. Even when our ancestors quilted, they quilted by rhythm and singing. And it's a certain rhythm in the quilt. You can see the tones and shades. It's rhythm in that. We work by rhythm, work songs as they call it. And we diagnose by rhythm. But the Europeans do not do that, so they cannot make a diagnosis of you. They can't even dance by rhythm. So they cannot make a diagnosis of you. You're too rhythmic for them to do that. So when they do get the lab study, after you're in the hospital, what does it matter? It only tells you the state of the person's health at the moment they took the lab. The next day you can collapse of a heart attack, because they're only telling you condition of that person at the time they took the blood, which goes back into their superstitious system of bloodletting. That's why you have to have bloodletting, or what you call a blood test to get married, a blood test to do this, because they're still into bloodletting. They just have given it another name. If someone kills you with a rock and then turns around and kills you with an arrow, then kills you with a bullet, so they give it another name. It's still bloodletting. That's what they do. That's why they have those little bloodletting things that the kids suck on every Christmas, candy canes with the little blood dripping around it from their bloodletting era. They're still into their ancestors, and they still represent what they come from, you see. They're still genetically in the Ice Age, by the way. Genetically, biochemically, they are still in the Ice Age. So it's kind of hard to let them be responsible for your health. And so we have to fight back. Unfortunately, we don't have enough people to fight back for us, because most of our doctors and nurses and technicians and lab people are using the European system. So they're going to make you just as sick as the Europeans, because they basically have been colonialized. Nonetheless, we were born properly, and the umbilical cord was cut, and there was ritual performed for the umbilical cord. We either took that out back and buried it with rhythm and with libations to return it back to Mother Earth. So all of that was done. And you're being breastfed for approximately 3 to 5 years. All of that has been done. So we're on a normal path. We started off normal. Now, I don't like to talk about that little slimy white stuff called homogenized cow's milk. But I'll say one or two things about it. One, it was made for cows. Two, it was not made for people. Those are my one or two things. Scientifically, homogenized milk has something called xanthine oxidase in it. And this is an enzyme which destroys your heart muscles. That's why the countries that consumes the largest amount of milk has the largest amount of heart attacks. Because when they homogenize the milk, it increases the shelf life, but it also makes all the cells in the milk the same. So now it can get passed and go right into the system, arterial system, the blood, without going through the safety mechanism of the liver, which the liver would filter out, hey, say, this is wrong, this doesn't go in. And the kidney would say, oh, this is wrong, this doesn't go in. But now it can go right into your blood. And that's what causes the problem. It's still going to go to the liver, but now it's in the blood wreaking havoc, because it has this exo factor in it, which causes heart attacks and causes sclerosis, or thickening of the arteries, which narrows the blood supply to your brain and to your heart, you see. And of course, it causes a lot of mucus. That's why the kids always have all this mucus. Their nose is running, they're hiccuping, they're basically suffering from constipation. Aside from the fact that the milk has arsenic in it, and pesticides and herbicides and hormones in it, which makes the child grow up to be very big. At 9 years old, they look like they're about 15 or 18, because they pump with all these hormones. And then you find these boys sprouting breasts and the girls sprouting a beard because of the hormone levels in it. It's very dangerous stuff. And if the Europeans want to drink cow's milk, let them. In fact, whatever they say about themselves, let them. I don't even know why we even argue with them. If they want to say they came from a monkey out of a tree, agree with them. Totally. If Freud want to say they hung up about sex, agree with them. Totally. Because white people know white people. If white people say they came out of a tree and they got derived from a monkey, I agree with them. If Freud say they hung up about sex, you better agree with him, because he knows white people. And they are hung up about sex. That's why they use sex to sell toothpaste, deodorant, toilet paper, God only knows what. They even use sex to sell us during slavery. Come on, let's get up off of this, you know? So just agree with them for my sake, even if you think they're wrong. But nonetheless, we have gone into childhood, and we're not on the cow's milk, and we're now into having our food combined properly. We know that salt, the Europeans got in the habit of eating salt. You've heard of the gold and salt empires. You wonder what they were doing with that salt? Why were they so busy trading this salt? Why was salt selling for 17 cents a bushel in the country? And then when the Northerners, what you call the Yankees, got a hold of it, salt went up to $35 a bushel in the 18th century, because they got a hold of the salt bill in Virginia, which is called Buffalo Lick. The first thing the Union Army did was want to control the salt, because without the salt, they could not preserve the fur and the leather and the meat. That's why they liked salt on meat, because most of the meat was preserved like that. You follow me? So that's why they went to Saltville, Virginia, and seized the salt mines. They like salt. It's not good for you. It's not a food. It really isn't. If you think it's a food, try eating salt and salt alone for a week. Because with a food, you can do that. You can eat apples and apples alone for a week. I'm not saying advising you to do that, but you could do that and you could live. But you can't do that with salt. And you cannot do that with sugar in any form. Be it molasses, be it honey. You cannot do it. Because sugar and honey are preservatives, and that's what they were used for. They kill bacteria. But we have gotten into the habit of eating these things because we're following our slave master's diet, which is what you should do if you're still psychologically on his plantation. I used to tell a little vulgar joke just to bring it home, but I don't like to be vulgar anymore. And it's not really a joke in the first place. All I used to say was that if you keep your head up the white man's ass, pretty soon everything that comes out your mouth is going to smell like shit. That's what I used to say. But of course, I'm, educated and all that sort of thing. So I don't say that anymore. I really don't. I don't let my Ghettonese background come out. I was raised in the projects, welfare, cheese, and Spam, Oink, oink. If the white man would have put oink, oink in a can, I would have bought it and put gravy on it and ate it. Just the word oink, oink. 'Cause I was sold on oink, oink. Feet, toes, ears, lips. I even made the pig's beard. Put mustard on it, too. I'm going to tell you, I did. Just as crazy as everybody else. Sure. Nonetheless, we come from this right food combining now. We've come out of our childhood of 3 years of being breastfed, and we're into the right food combining. We're not putting the sugar with the carbohydrates. Sugar and starch doesn't go together. If you put the sugar with the starch, it causes the starch to ferment and rot. So you really can't do that, because sugar and starch doesn't go together. Starch and meat doesn't go together, because the starch causes the meat to ferment and rot. So you can't put those together. You just watch an animal in nature, see a tiger eating some meat, and then he stops and eats some bread. And then he stops and drags the carcass and drinks some water out the river. No, he's going to eat and he's not going to drink at the same time. Those things don't occur in nature. It's just that when some people that just started eating were just introduced to mangoes and papayas and oranges and plums and things that when they just started eating all these food in the past 150 years, they just went berserk with it. And they put everything together. That's the Europeans. You have to understand, they just started eating food that our ancestors were eating for 10,000 years. We take all of this for granted, but they've just been eating sugar for the past 150 years. They don't know what to do with that. They don't even know how to eat. Watch them eat. They slobber all over themselves. They have napkins and all kind of things. They're just disgusting. And they still want to eat in these dark little caves. Go in their restaurants, they're all dark like a cave. You can't see nothing. They're still eating that way. And they still worship these animals. They love these animals. They wear these rodent furs, which they call minks. There's no way, if I gave a sister and said, I made this coat out of a rat, here, wear it. White dude call it a mink and the woman puts it on. It's still a rat, it's still in the rat family. Please. It really gets me sometimes. But nonetheless, we're eating our food correctly, and we know we're not frying anything. We know we're not going to take an oven out in Africa at 90 degrees and fry a banana. Come on. We know we're not going to pick an orange and then go cook it. Cooking orange juice, which they homogenize and pasteurize and sell it to you in the store. The Europeans do all of these things. They cook in oranges, they cook in bananas, they cook in tomatoes, they cook things that they shouldn't even cook. And they used to cook us. They used to sell us in slavery as delicacies. If they couldn't get us, they would buy the mummies and eat it. And they had certain parts of our bodies which was treated certain way. There are recipe books on how to cook a nigger. I'm telling you, in this country, the planners and mariners, Medicum, tells you the right recipes and stuff. There's no way I'm going to follow what they eat. There's no way. Then when they make a mistake with their cooking, they put gravy on it. That's the great cure-all. You make a mistake, burn something on the side, you say, oh, I'm going to just make some gravy, Put it right on there. So what they usually do is they just, like when you get burnt and you get a blister and you get this pus oozing out there, so they burn the meat, which you call frying, and the pus oozes all out the meat. And they take that little pus and mucus and mix it with some flour, and they call it gravy. So now they're slurping up pus. I mean, I'm not going to watch these people eat. I got too much respect for myself. And they're still very constipated. They are very, very constipated people. They take these antacids, which stops the digestive fluid from breaking down the food. It stops digestion, as well as chocolate. It stops the digestive calcium. To put chocolate in the milk is just totally crazy. But they do these things because they don't know how to eat. I'm telling you. So now they suffer from this constipation. They take an antacid, which stops the digestive juices in your body from breaking down the food. And then they put the salt in there, which stops the digestive juice from breaking down the food. All of these things are inhibitors, which they call immunodepressants these days. Yeah, it depresses the immune system. That's the new term for destroying yourself. They used to call it side effects. You look in the PDR, physician desk reference, and everything that's a side effect is a poison to the body and depresses the immune system. They just come up with a new word to say, I'm going to kill you. So they take these immune depressing kind of things, the salt, which throws your potassium off. It starts in a domino effect and throws you right into hypoglycemia, which is a low energy spurt in your system, which drains your adrenal glands, shuts down your digestive system. So all of these things that happen, your whole digestive system is shutting down. It's what they call a sympathetic reaction, or in the new terms today, a melatonin reaction and serotonin reaction. Okay, it's a serotonin reaction. Serotonin is the hormone that's secreted by the pineal gland for daytime things. Serotonin, serious during the day, melatonin, mellow at night. So you have the melatonin at night and the serotonin during the day. Those are reactions in the system because the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems are governed by melanin. So I just say what it is. It's a melanin reaction. So these things shut down your pineal gland. That's what they do. They stop it from making the rhythm. They're rhythm inhibitors. But there's a whole lot of new terms for these things. See, you have a bodily response. A bodily response is like this. Either you're going to walk or you're going to sit. Now, if you're walking, you require energy. And if you're walking, you can't eat. So when you're walking, your digestive system is shut down. If you need to fight against racism and stress, you need the energy. You don't need to eat. So the body shuts down the digestive system when you come under racism and hypertension and stress. So it just shuts the whole thing down. So you have eaten, but now you're under racism and it's shut down. You're never treated for white racism by any white doctor, even though your body responds to it. Because the white racism is going to shut down your digestive system. It's a fight and flight response, as they call it. But you never are treated for white racism when you go to see a white doctor or a black doctor, even though you've been suffering under it for what? 1,000 years under the Arabs and 450 years under these cracker white people. But you're never treated for it. Isn't that amazing? And you can prove it. You can prove it going back to, Thurgood Marshall. You can go to all these things and say, look, this is what I'm suffering from. Can you treat me with this? And he says, nothing wrong with you. You don't suffer from white racism. But you can prove it. There's so much documentation. That's why they call it slavery. That's white racism, which is a psychotic person's thinking. But I don't want to talk about that. All I'm trying to say is when you're eating, and then someone subjects you to some racism or some stress or hypertension, your digestive system shuts down. And now you're going to have some problem because now you can't get any energy in your system. So now that your digestive system is shut down, the body goes to another energy system called the adrenal glands. That's the gland that secretes something called adrenaline that enables a person to pick up a truck in a crisis, So now you're running on adrenaline. And adrenaline only gives you energy for a short period of time and then it drops. So most black people are running on adrenaline. They're not running on the other energy that comes from your liver, which is a slow burning energy that just takes you mellowly through the day. You're running on adrenaline, which is a fight or flight situation. So you have eaten And then Patty Duke or somebody comes on the TV, or one of these little white people, and they just say something like, oh, 2 niggers were killed today in South Africa. Now we go to the evening news, or something like that. And you say, this is very insulting, because they say bad things about us, but they never show any emotion. There's something pasted on their face. And your body has a reaction to it. Your body has a reaction to video games, because now you're responding to artificial sounds. You see, it stimulates you artificially. So now you're stimulated by artificial sounds, and when you hear a real sound, your body doesn't identify with it anymore. When you hear a real African drum, your body doesn't identify with it anymore. Now you're only responding to artificial sounds of a record going backwards or something. So now they have taken you out of a whole mode of thinking and put you in an artificial realm of thinking. Artificial just means European, by the way. But nonetheless, your whole digestive process is now shut down, because now you're under what they call a stressor known as white racism, hypertension, and all that sort of thing. And you're not getting any energy in your system, so now you're running on adrenaline. And adrenaline, you need some pantothenic acid to work on your adrenal glands. If you're going to be into adrenaline response, you use a pantothenic acid, as they call it, or niacinamide, something of that sort, to stimulate the adrenal glands. So we have a person who's trying to eat right, and they're taking all these things, because no one tells you not to put the salt with this and the sugar with that, and no one tells you not to fry everything that you eat. You know, people even fry greens. They don't call it frying because they're not using a frying pan. But when you put a ham hockey or hunky or whatever it is into some collard greens, you are frying the greens. You put a whole half a pound of butter in some cake, that's fried. I'm sorry. You're just putting it on, you're baking it in the oven, but you're frying it. You're just using different terms to do the same thing, you see. We have different terms that mean the same thing in the body. If you have varicose veins in the brain, we call it mental illness or senility. You have varicose veins in the leg, we call it varicose veins. You have hardening of the arteries in the lungs and the chest, we don't call it varicose veins, we call it hardening arteries. It's just it's a location name, but it's the same thing going on. The arteries and the veins are not responding because now they're being dried up and hardened and become thick, because salt pulls the fluid out, you see. And sugar inhibits the action, it stops it from coming back in. It's just a seesaw effect. That's why they always put salt and sugar together. If you look at a candy bar, they say salt. They always put them together because it makes the seesaw effect. Or yin and yang, as the Chinese will say, or negative and positive, as the white boys will say, male and female attribute, as we would say. Now, we're eating the food, but we're not masticating it. We don't chew it till it swallows itself. We chew it and take a big, you know, and then the thing just goes down in there and it parks, because we don't have digestion. We just park food in our body, you see. And so we just wash it down with some water, and the water stops the digestive fluid from breaking down the food, so you're not getting energy from the food because you're drinking the water, in which case it's used a liquid syrup called sodas to wash it down. See, when you're drinking a liquid sugar like a soda, and you're drinking orange juice or apple juice, you still have to drink more water because that's food. But people don't think it's food. It's just liquid food. You have to drink extra water when you're drinking apple juice, orange juice, and all that, and milk. You have to drink extra water because you're still eating food. I'm not saying drink it at the same time you're eating. I'm just saying be mindful that you have to drink more water. Better yet, just dilute the apple juice and the orange juice and all that, and you'll be on the safe side, because those are very concentrated, you see. They're concentrated. Apple juice is concentrated because you don't have all that fiber, the bulk of the apple. See, the bulk of the apple would stop you from drinking so much apple juice, but since you've taken the bulk out, you have it concentrated. So now that's why you have to drink more water, because the body, the way nature put it together, it stops you from overeating things. To eat as much sugar as they put into a Coca-Cola, you would have to eat a sugar beet the size of a little kid's head. So nature is stopping you from eating so much sugar because you got all that bulk and roughage and fiber to go through to get to all of that sugar. That's why nature did it that way, to keep things in balance. But when you're taking raw fruit juices and vegetable juice, people use that as a medicine to try to cleanse yourself. It cleanses you of addiction in a week or 2 weeks, that sort of thing. That's a medicine. So that for a medical effect, yeah, but once you've achieved the effect you wanted, the cleansing, go back to the whole food. Because it's just meant as a medicine sort of thing for people. So we're swallowing the food whole and causing what we call constipation. Constipation is when the food is not moving at the right speed from your mouth to the bowel movement. Okay. You should take about 4 hours in the stomach, 4 hours in the small intestine, that sort of thing. Basically, it should be like 5 hours for vegetables, 2 hours for fruits, and 15 minutes for juice. That's how they digest. Up to 12 hours is the longest. Fats and proteins about 12 hours. Vegetables take about 5 hours. This is to pull the energy out of it, which we call metabolism. It takes that long to pull the energy out. And 2 hours for fruits, and 15 minutes for fruit juices to pull the energy out. But once you pull the energy out, the food is supposed to pass along through the system by the muscles inside your body. But as we know, the muscles get arthritis in them, which is uric acid. So the muscles are not acting properly because the muscles have never been exercised. People just lifting weights, exercising muscles outside, but inside they don't exercise their muscles, so the muscles are not moving the food, so the food is just parked inside your body. And when it gets parked in there, it starts fermenting and causes diverticulosis, little ticks, where you have little bulges and pockets in your intestines, the whole food in it that ferments and rots. And once you start absorbing this rotten food, it creates what we call a toxic condition, which weakens your muscles and causes what people call old age, which has never been recorded in history except with the Europeans. We tend to take whatever values they say is normal to be normal for everybody in the whole world, but it's just normal for them. This is totally new. Somebody getting old and suffering from arthritis and getting cataracts and glaucoma, because all of those are digestive disorders. It's a manganese and zinc deficiency that causes glaucoma. These are digestive illnesses. This has all been going on for the Europeans for centuries, but now we'll start catching them and they start giving them all these names. But these are new things for African people. Arthritis, senility, going around farting. This is all new for us. I mean, it's for them it's old stuff, because to belch and to fart was a sign that you enjoyed your meal in that culture. We have to understand what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a group of people that are coming out of a whole lot of superstitions, and they disguise their superstitions as religion. But they're very superstitious people. You have to be superstitious to be psychotic in the first place. You cannot, superstitious when you base things on unreal things, unreal, just totally unreal. Then you're superstitious. But when you base it on reality, they call it a mythology and all these nice terms, because it's based on reality. But the Europeans' things are based basically on superstitions. They have these great fears about things that like food and the air. See, if the air is blowing at night and you open your window and this night air from the moon comes into your room, it can give you a cold. That's why they don't open windows at night in their house, because they're afraid of moon breezes giving them a cold. This is true. This is what they believe in. They have a lot of superstitions. Jeez, that's amazing. The whole abracadabra, the way the abracadabra is set up, abracadabra, then you go abba, and then you go down to abba. That's the way they do the eye chart. It's to invoke a spirit. The way they set up the eye chart is based on superstition. I'm trying to tell you. Abracadabra, and each time you go down the line, you end up down with one letter. You see, because they're trying to invoke a spirit to cause their eyesight to get better. It's crazy, but this is what they believe in. I'm very sorry. I would hate to tell you about why they believe in mustaches and beards. That's another story. Nonetheless, the person is eating and just swallowing the food, taking liquids, and going through this constipation because the food is not moving fast enough through their digestive system. And this results in what we call worms. And you get worms, you get the big worms that are by your appendix. And these worms are trying to eat up the waste to protect your body. And then you get the little worms that live under your skin, under these little white heads. Under there is worms. The worms are pushing the white heads out. I mean, there's nothing good about a black head, but I'd rather have black head than white head, but because I'm prejudiced, you know. But anyway, but people get white heads and black heads, and that's just waste in the body trying to get out. And underneath of there is worms just floating around in the system. See, when you don't get the food out of the body in the proper time, it's just floating around in the system. It just becomes a liquid bowel movement floating with your blood all around. And that makes the blood too thick. And it stops the pineal gland from recycling the proteins, because African people recycle the proteins in their body. That's why we don't need as many proteins. Because of the melanin, it stabilizes the vitamin D and we make more. Our skin is like chlorophyll in a plant. We convert sun energy directly and turn it into metabolic energy. We use the sun's energy to break down our food. This melanin is like chlorophyll in a plant. We are blessed by the sun. You see, Europeans can't do all of that, so they can't stabilize their calcium. They don't have that kind of ability. They can't insulate their body. You can feel a lot of heat coming out. If I was to stand in that doorway and we have the heat on, it's cold outside, you can feel the heat quite well as it's passing out if you stand in that doorway. And that's the effect they get by having it cold in the rooms, because they can feel the heat passing out on the top layer of their skin, because they don't have that insulation we have for the melanin. That's why they have the joint cold all the time. They do a lot of, they cross their legs for certain reason, besides constipation. Because you have never seen your ancestors with their legs crossed, because that's a sign of constipation. You've never seen your ancestors with black and blue pants on, because that's not good for your pineal gland. You can't get the sun down here with those dark colors on. You've never seen any pictures with our ancestors walking around with black pants on, blue pants on, and all that stuff. We wear light stuff to get the sun. We need the sun. We're sun-dependent people. That's what Acerola was doing. Acerola was the first Florence Nightingale. She's the one that was curing people yellow fever and cholera. She started in Jamaica, you see. And Florence quit the job. They sent her home. And Acerola was taking care of business. She was born in Jamaica. And she took care of all the British soldiers. She is the original Florence Nightingale, by the way. Her name is Acerola. And then, of course, you know about Imhotep. But if you look far enough, you're going to find somebody black. It's just that you haven't looked far enough. That's why you don't know about Acerola. But she is the Florence Nightingale, as you would call her. Nonetheless, we have all this constipation going on in our system, and we're accumulating waste, and we're getting bumps, we're getting dandruff, we're getting bad breath, we're getting plaque in our veins, and we're getting plaque in our hearts, we're getting plaque in our lungs. It's inhibiting our body's ability to make energy. And it's stopping us from being competitive, because it's stopping the pineal gland from functioning. We're doing a whole lot of anti-rhythm things, anti-melanin things. We're taking things to stop the rhythmicity of our body from functioning. In other words, we're being enslaved nutritionally, because we don't associate rhythm with food. We don't associate rhythm with chemistry. All our science was taught with rhythm, with a drum and a lyre and a harp. That's what's in our classrooms from kindergarten all the way up to college. The white man just took the drum out of the school system, and we are paying the cost for it. You see, you can't learn African science without a drum. You just can't. I don't know how you can do it. You see, the whole thing is so dependent on rhythm. That's why they write on the papyrus, some things are in verse and some things are in choruses. And these little white boys, Massey or whatever his name is, go in there and they say, well, some things they repeat. I don't know why they repeat it. Maybe the scribe was just too dumb to know he wrote it before. There's a man who'd been to school, you know, by the time you're 12 years old, you have the equivalent of a PhD in Africa. Here's a man who's been writing this hieroglyphic writings for 20, 40 years, and the white boy say he's too dumb to know that he wrote something before. Some things are repeated because of the chorus. You have to have a certain rhythm in your writing. You have chorus and verse. or what you call and response. That was part of our writing, because the man was writing with rhythm. But the Europeans don't have that, so they don't understand the whole rhythm that goes into a science, especially African science like chemistry and biology. That's why the kids don't understand this stuff. It's very cartoon, stupid stuff to me. I mean, you have to really be something. Someone can sit down and tell you, drink alcohol, a little bit's all right for you. Someone can sit down there, well, you know, you just smoke a little bit here and there, just smoking is all right as long as you don't overdo it. Someone can tell you, all right, chew this rubber tire. Come again? No, chew this rubber tire. Come again? Okay, I'll tell you what I do. I'll just dye it pink, flatten it out, and put sugar on it and call it Wrigley's. Now chew it. Chew this rubber tire. Okay. How much respect can they have for you when they can get you to chew a rubber tire and drink something that kills your brain cells, which is what alcohol does? I don't care who did it. It could have been Brother Imhotep. Alcohol kills your brain cell, don't drink it. Hey, very simple. So an industry that can get you to do all of these things, they're not concerned about your health. They're not concerned about nutrition at all. What have you learned about nutrition from watching McDonald's commercials? Please tell me. You do know that they stole the double hooroo. You know that. And they don't call that M, they call it a double arc. They call it the arcs. Look for the golden arcs. Look for the double hooroo. You know that. You know that CBS with that I is the symbol of hooroo. You know that. You know that they use our symbols in everything that they do. They just don't call it that. You have never called them say, look for the golden M, look for the double hooroo, because that double arc is hooroo. See, you know that they have stolen these things. But nonetheless, they are not teaching you anything about nutrition. They are not interested in nutrition. They're interested in controlling you, destroying you, and getting you to destroy your mate. That is all. That is all they have been doing, nutritionally, to us. And now we do it to ourselves. We got Beatrice, this big company owned by brothers that are pushing these synthetic and pesticide and herbicides all over the world. We got B&B and Bronner Brothers who are selling these Jerry curls or whatever they are. So we got big companies making a lot of money off of destroying us. We got brothers and sisters who are supposed to be liberating us with our African rhythms and rap music selling Pepsis and Coca-Cola. Your Whitney Houstons and all these people selling stuff that is destroying us. They did a 13-year study of children watching television and found out watching television creates boredom. It creates mindlessness. The more black kids watch 25 more hours of television than white kids. By watching television, you become bored. By playing video games, you become self-centered, because what you win is for self, and you play for self. You don't play for family. You don't play for nation. You play for self. You win for self. It's a game of selfishness, individualism, divide and conquer. We know all of these things. They have studied this, and they just say, hey, yeah, well, this game does do that, so it's anti-melanin, it's anti-African, it's anti-black, it's anti-human. So we know these things are very dangerous, and we know nutritionally that you can't escape these things. In nutrition, you pay for things directly. When you don't realize the cost of it, you call it a symptom. But when you understand the cost of it, you call it a disease. You come to a person trained in what they call natural medicine or herbology and all that sort of thing, because they outlawed the first herbal doctors in America back in 1845. I hope you know that. They were hiring African doctors in America. All respectable drugstores had African doctors, and all white doctors had an African doctor in America. In South Carolina, the state of South Carolina made it illegal for them to buy any more of them in 1845. The ones who were taking care of the white and the black people were the African female doctors on the plantations. Do not think for 1 minute that Colonel Sanders knew anything about cooking any chicken in no South. You don't find no white man in no kitchen in no South, not on no plantation. He stole that recipe from black women. I heard the little man say it out of his own mouth before he kicked the bucket, or whatever he kicked. Rest his soul, wherever it is. He said he got it from black women. Cooking. See, the herbal and spice combination, he did not know anything about. What is he going to know about some sassafras? It's named after a black woman in the first place. What is he going to know about sassafras? It was controlled by Spain in the second place. See, the Spanish and the French, the Romans controlled the aloe vera, as you call it today, because they went to Madagascar to get that. That's why they seized Madagascar, because they were using it to help with the wounds that they were having. So the Spain went after the sassafras, you see. Each one of these nations went after particular herbs to control. It was a big market. You had some people that believed that potatoes can cure your venereal disease. These are Europeans. That's what they were fighting over, the potato in the first place. But there's so many different varieties of potatoes. You got the black potato, the white potato, the yellow potato, the gold potato, and all those different colors, what you probably would call sweet potatoes. You've seen yellow potatoes, you probably call it sweet potatoes. And you've seen red potatoes, you call it. Potatoes come in a whole range of colors. But nonetheless, these people were fighting over potatoes. I mean, what kind of mentality, would you buy a potato and think it can cure you of a cold? This is what the Europeans were thinking, you see. And they were fighting over these herbs, which our ancestors say, you're fighting over, that's like fighting over oak tree. I mean, certain things just don't gel in your mind. There was no way to communicate to these people. Here you are, you're about 120 years old, and here comes a little Greek boy, 20 years old, who hasn't even learned how to count yet. And you're trying to talk to him, and you speak 5 languages, and this Greek boy is grunting about 4 or 5 words. I mean, grunting. Their whole language is based on grunts. That's another conversation altogether. I see all of you looking at me. I don't want to go through all of that just to talk. Please, let me just finish this. Nonetheless, how were we communicating with the Europeans when we met them with this kind of vocabulary we had? We're talking about astrology, architecture, we're talking about indoor plumbing, we're talking about paved streets, we're talking about glass windows, and here's a guy that came out of a cave that's still making love with his woman by beating her over the head with a stick? I mean, please, it's no way to communicate with this kind of ignorance. And if the man wants to have a potato, our ancestors say, yeah, here, have a potato. You think that's going to help you, brother? Yeah, take your potato and crawl back in your cave, you know. Jeez. In any case, we introduced civilization to them. I think it was 1191, Ramses III did that. He went in there, tried to colonize Europe, you see, and taught them what they know about civilization. There's one thing I just want to say before I finish talking about this. Nutrition, everything is divide and conquer in their science. Everything must be divided up to understand it. See, you have to divide things up. Vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D. Then they come around and say, well, vitamin C won't work unless it's with the vitamin C complex, which is the vitamin C family. Now they're finding these things out. So you have to take all of vitamin C, the bioflavonoids, which has rutin and estrogen in it, which helps stabilize your veins and arteries. It strengthens them. You see, you have to take the whole vitamin C family for it to work. But originally, Europeans were just dividing this thing up. Divide this up, separate this, and all these things. They do it in all their sciences. They do it with people. Divide and conquer. You think they invented it to deal with us, but that's the way the Europeans are. They are divided in themselves. You just got the disease from them, but they are very divided. There's nothing unified about white people. The French do not trust the Germans. The French had an army to protect themselves from the Germans. The Germans had an army to protect themselves from the Portuguese. All of them had armies to protect themselves from each other. They didn't have no armies to protect themselves against us. They don't trust each other. They never have. They're the most unorganized people I've ever met. The only group of them have any sense of organization are the Portuguese. And that's because the Portuguese set facing the Atlantic Ocean. They can't be attacked from that side. The rest of them were just bombarded by hordes of thieves, The state of England, at the time England came over here, they had about 10 million people. 5 million of them were living below poverty, or 1 million of them were on relief. 500 million of them were thieves, homeless, beggars, and vagrants. And how could they uplift us with that kind of mentality? All they did is brought all that stupidity over here and they duplicated it. So what do you have? Homeless, beggars, thieves. Because that's the state of their consciousness, and it's not going to get any higher. You cannot educate these people. Who do you think you are? You can educate some white people. Imhotep tried that. Ramesses tried that. Akhenaten tried that. Who are you? Forget that. In any case, back to the digestive system, which runs about 25 feet long to 35 feet long. It's a long, hot air tube. And when you eat, the food does not go in your body. It's sitting in this tube, and it's got to get out of this tube to get in your body. So the deal is to get it in your body. So you get it in your body with some transportation sort of mechanism. And those transportation mechanisms are called enzymes, digestive enzymes. They help transport it into your body. Mind you now, just because you eat an orange doesn't mean you become an orange. Because you cannot eat and destroy food. The Europeans think they can destroy things, but we know we're in harmony with Mother Nature. And we have this kind of agreement. When we take from Mother Nature, we give a libation, we give a blessing. You see, because we have this kind of harmonious relationship with Mother Nature. Europeans just take. So they think that they can just take something and eat it. And all of a sudden they have all the vitamin A they want from an apple or orange. They took it, now it's in their body, but you cannot take it. All you're doing is sharing in a harmonious relationship. And the vitamin A and vitamin C is just stimulating the vitamin A and vitamin C in you. It cannot give you energy because only God can give you energy. All it can do is just stimulate your energy, either to your good or to your detriment. If it's a drug, it's going to stimulate you negatively. If it's a whole food, it's going to stimulate you positively. That's all the foods can do. But you cannot eat, chew it, destroy it, and all of a sudden an orange can become a human being because you've chewed it up. It's going to go in your body, stimulate, and come right back out. And you can identify it and say, oh, well, this was orange, but now it looks like a bunch of crap. But you can still identify it. So you have this food in this hot air tube. That's all you have. And it's passing out your body after it's done its work. And when it's moving too slow, like 72 hours, it's going to start creating gas, fermentation. It's going to start working on destroying your sight because it's going to make your body level so acid. You become very acid. And a high amount of acid weakens anything. It just eats away and destroys the tissue and the unitedness of your body. It just weakens it because your body's become acid because it has the food in it too long. That's the problem. All waste is usually acid. Perspiration is acid. Respiratory response is acid. Urine is acid. And the gastric juice in your stomach is acid. Everything else is alkaline. Waste is usually acid. Urine is acid. Perspiration is acid. And the gastric juice is acid. You follow me? Everything else is alkaline, as we call it. Pancreatic juice and all those other kind of fluids in your body. And sure enough, we are more alkaline than the Europeans. The Europeans are biochemically acid. They only break down less than about 12 amino acids. We break down more. We have 12 melanin centers in our brain. They only have 2. You see, it's no way you can... I don't know how to define those group of people, but we are human beings. We have hair. It doesn't have the same color breakdown as any animal. It has more colors in it. You take the hair from the Europeans, compare it to a monkey, and you see that the Europeans have fur. We have hair. Look at that stuff on their head. It is fur. And then you look at the dog that's their best friend, and you'll see that they both have fur. What state of mind can you be in to have a dog as your best friend? What state of mind can you be in to say that prostitution is the oldest profession? The oldest profession in African people is farmers and herbalists. You gotta eat. My God. To them, it's a whore. Because that's what they think of women. That's what in every book they have written or abused, which includes the Bible and the Quran, which were written by white boys, which we shouldn't trust them too much. I'm not saying anything about trusting God. I'm just talking about those books that those white boys wrote called the Bible and the Quran. Do not trust them. Trust the Word of God, but don't trust what they have done to these books. They have done some things to these books. They have done some things to us. Now, do we have to go to the book? But I'm just saying you have to be mindful. So they split things up in their sciences. And we can't relate to that because we're looking for the unity in the science. We're looking for the family in the science because we are scientists of a family technology. Everything for us is family technology. When we came over here, we came into a compound on the slave plantation. We came into a family. And after the Civil War, what were we doing? Running around looking for our brother, our sister, our mother, for our family. We're family people. That's what our science is based on. That's what our religion is based on, the technology of the family. That's what makes us the giants that we are. The Europeans look at our artifacts, our buildings, our chemistry, our language, and they think that's what we are. But what we are is in here, something inside of us so strong that's called a family. We just understand that technology. So that same technology is applied to our science. That's why we know that you want vitamin C, you have to get the whole family for it to work. Where the Europeans will take out a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and come up with these drugs. When they take the sugar out of the sugar cane, they got a drug, you see. And the salt gets washed down from the mountain into the ocean, and we dry it up and we call it sea salt, and we still got the same salt. It's still a drug. We don't need to be going around eating no rocks. I don't care whether it's in the water or not. It's salt already in celery, my gosh. Tomatoes and apples and orange, all these things have salt in them already. And we don't run on oil anyway. I don't know how someone can drink a cup to a glass of oil a day in the form of pastries, of pizzas, and all these sort of things. We don't run on oil. It's hydrogenated fat, and it gets in the center of your cell and just sits there and retards the whole growth of the cell. These hydrogenated oils, as they call it. And food, well, vinegar is not a food. If you think it's a food, drink it for a week and drink nothing else and see how you make out. Vinegar is not a food. It paralyzes the pancreas. Don't eat the stuff. It's very bad. It's very bad for people that have yeast infections. When somebody gets sick, that's when the Europeans start talking about a healthy diet. Oh, don't eat this, don't eat that, don't eat this. You're already in the grave now. Now they're talking about what not to eat. Oh, don't eat this, don't eat that. It's too late. Nonetheless, we have this hot air tube. We're getting the food into our body properly. We're not combining the foods incorrectly. We're not drinking a can of oil a day like a car or anything like that, because we know we don't run on oil, not unless it's already contained in the plant, like an avocado or something of that sort. In its natural state, it works wonders with us. When you take it out of that natural state, we have some problems. The system doesn't understand it. You put the oil in there from say, an orange, and the body says, well, where's the vitamin C? Well, I got to take some vitamin C from somewhere. I say, well, where's the calcium? I better take some calcium from the bones. So where's the potassium? I better take the potassium from the heart. And so the body does this nutritional robbery to try to make a whole orange in your system. Because the body says, I am whole, I metabolize whole. And that's the way it reads everything. That's why these foods are nutritionally draining. When you take the white sugar, the body says, well, where's the iron? Where's the copper? I guess I better get some iron. I get that from the bone. I guess I better get some iron from the blood. I better get some copper. And then it takes all these nutrients from them. And that's why these junk foods called nutritional drains, or they call them naked cavities, because they strip the body of all the vital nutrients. That's why a kid that's eating a whole lot of sugar, like sugar and cereal in the morning, and then go to school, 2 hours later, they go into hypoglycemia, and they get bored. That's why they're so depressed. They set up to fail by eating the sugar before. This little tiger that runs around, that little guy telling people eat this sugar on the cornflakes, that guy. There's a lot of guys I don't like, and Tony is a guy I would personally kill. He's not a good actor anyway. Anyway, the kid takes this sugar in the morning, and then goes to school, and then it goes into hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar, and gets depressed and gets bored. That is a disease reaction from what the kid ate. So we're setting up the child to fail before the child even has a chance, you see. Most of the illnesses start when a person is a child. Hardening of the arteries starts for people under 6 years old. They just start performing autopsies on children to find this out. These diseases don't all of a sudden, 67, all of a sudden you got arthritis. No, you had that when you were 5 years old. They just weren't bothering to diagnose it. Now they are. Arthritis, rheumatism, heart problems. They have scar tissue in their heart. They found this with the soldiers during the Korean War. These people were going to have a heart attack and die from it, even if they didn't die from the bullet that killed them during the war. So they're finding people already have these predispositions for these diseases already. Low blood sugar, diabetes mellitus, they already have it. It's just that when you have the sugar disease, you're so close to your next fix that you can't detect it. You see, you have a sugar disease like diabetes mellitus or whatever it's related to. You eat some sugar, so you never know you have hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, because you eat a piece of candy, and then half an hour later you drink a soda, so you never detect that you have low blood sugar because you're always getting a fix. And you're keeping your body very acidic by just chewing the gum, and the body is raising the acid level, getting ready for a meal that never shows up. So a lot of things just have been going undetected, but now we know that the people get these diseases when they're young, not when they're old. They lose the whole constitution of it all. The men don't exercise their testicles or anything. I mean, the exercise you're supposed to do. You should be able to take your testicles and bring them all the way up inside your body. This is what was taught in the so-called rites of passage. You learn how to bring your testicles up and down. You learn how to control your prostate. When you're young, the penis can point right to your face. A little baby, you see them, they can pee right in their face. And they'll pee on you too. And as you get older, the old ding-dong starts going right down to the ground. Because you're losing your vitality. The sexual organs are getting weak, so the penis points right down to the ground. Poor thing. But when you're young, the penis is pointing straight up to the sky. So you can really detect your vitality by where your penis is when it gets erect. You should be able to control your testicles, make them go up and down anyway. That's just something you were taught. Women know how to exercise their uterus. It's no big deal. I mean, people say, well, the guy squirts the sperm, he gets erect, and then the sperm comes out, and then the sperm has to go through all this fight, go through the uterus, and go up to the fallopian tube, and then fertilize the egg. And you learn that from the Europeans. But they never tell you that it's just a little pool, a cup opens up at the mouth of the uterus to hold the sperm, and the uterus draws up like a suction and pulls it right on through. It's like that, just like what you call a plunger or something. It just pulls it right through. That's what it does. And the fallopian tubes are just like a slam dunking, whatever they call these things these guys do. It just goes right around to the ovaries, picks the egg up, and slam dunks. And it goes right on down. It's a rhythm kind of response. But these things were just not taught anybody. People don't know these things. We're just kept in so much ignorance about so many things. But nonetheless, we know that we're following the right digestive process because we're no longer having gas. We're no longer having plaque on our teeth. We're no longer eating late at night. It takes 4 hours to empty your stomach, so you should have your last meal, say, if you're going to bed at 10 o'clock, you should have your last meal at 6 when your stomach is empty. So you're not going to sleep with food fermenting in your stomach, just sitting there all night, just rotting like garbage. You know, and that causes constipation, and it causes the bacteria to migrate or move from the rectum on over to the prostate and causes these infections. The same with women. You can't be constipated because those bacteria are going to just travel right on over there and cause some prostate problems in the men and uterus problems in the women. Constipation, simple as it is, cause a lot of diseases. That's why Hippocrates said constipation was the cause of 90% of all European diseases. So we're eating properly. We're not having any problems with that. We know it goes together because we can look at Mother Nature and see that a potato's under the ground, so it doesn't go with something that's like orange. Because orange is above the ground, way up there in the tree somewhere, and somebody's eating a potato and orange together. You say they don't even grow together. You know, so they can't go together. So you kind of make these relationships. You see the grapes growing down here in a vine. You see grapes in a vine and watermelons a vine. Oh yeah, they both, yeah, you can probably eat those together. But you can't eat a grape with an orange. They don't even grow in the same vicinity. See, nature just tells you, hey, this is the order. If you follow it, you'll be all right. If you want to see if you can eat fish naturally, raw, like other fish-eating animals do, just walk out in the ocean with your mouth open. I don't know how you can do it. I haven't been able to figure that out. See, the Europeans, in order to eat these animals in their natural state, the man has to run the animal down. Then he has to catch the animal. Then he has to beat the animal to death. Then he has to rip the skin off. Then he has to be able to chew the flesh, and everything that's in the stomach, bowel movement, old tired fart, anything he finds, he should be able to eat. Because that's what natural meat eaters do. That's why them European women have those claws, what you call fingernails, because that comes out of their culture. They needed those claws for their behavior and what they did. Fingernails. Claws. And that's fur, and they design their fur. They try to kink it up, which they call curls. Kinky fur and claws. That's what they are. Flat behind critters. In any case, I don't even want to talk about them, Lord. I'm trying to be nice. But what they have done to us, there's a trail of bones from Africa under the Atlantic Ocean over here. You don't even need to guide yourself. Just look at all the bones. What they have done to us and how black people can forgive them and hold a grudge against their brother and sister is beyond me. Beyond me. No. You see, that the Nindi people, they will say Assisi. Assisi is the sun god. And when the French came over, they would rape the men first. And they would holler for the sun god to protect this brother. Assisi, Assisi. And what the Europeans called him? Assisi. Bakra. A bakra is an ordeal. So down in my area in the Sea Islands, we call the white man a bakra. Ordeal. Bakra means an ordeal. Something, and bakra is an ordeal bead, which is something you get after you're going through your rites of passage to show you have made this challenge and met it, so you get your ordeal, and bakra bead, you see. And then we got these little black children whose mother or father was a white person, and the name for that orphan is called Pee-wee. And that's where we get Pee-wee from. We got all of these terms that are so African and so beautiful that our ancestors try to give us because they couldn't tell us the whole story. They say, hey, if you put a broom by your door, it keeps out these spirits. Because brooms are used for cleansing the compound, you see. They're very spiritual things. And some people have these spirits in them and not good. So if you put a door by your house, sometimes people just be sitting around your house all night, never leave. I was talking to some ladies going through some rites of passage, young ladies. She said she was talking to her grandmother, and the guests were in the house, and they just wouldn't leave. And the grandmother said, well, put the broom behind the door. You put the door behind the door, they left. There's a spiritual thing about that African broom, you see. Because that's how, in my area, that's how you find out whether somebody's a hag or not, or a bow hag. I guess you don't know these stories. We got a lot of hag stories about spirits that come in your house. And don't put a man's hat on your bed. A woman shouldn't do that because that man will be in her bed. So she don't put a hat of a strange man on her bed. That's the spirits in there. We're spirit people. But our ancestors would just tell us little stories like that. Pee-wee and a guy who's rather spoiled, been breastfeeding too long. The booba's the top of the dress, so we call that guy Bubba. You know, he's been on the tit too long, you know, kind of thing. Nonetheless, It's just a whole lot of things that are just so beautiful about our culture. That's what amazes me, and how it's been distorted and we've been turned against it. And we're the founders of nutrition. The use of the word is an African word. It's come from the amulet onet. Nutrition it's an African word. You see, all of this is our science, nutrition and how to eat and how to put food together, and we don't recognize it when it's coming back at us. We just don't recognize it at all. What you eat causes you to think a certain way. Everybody knows that. What you put in your body can cause your thinking to be a certain way. If you take out the lysine and the glutamic acid, you lose your rhythmicity, and it causes obsessive compulsive disorder. And Europeans have a lysine and glutamic acid deficiency. If you take out the zinc, it causes neurotic behavior. They have a zinc deficiency from the ice age when it mounted all those minerals out of the soil. That's why they're that way nutritionally. They suffer from these illnesses, obsessive compulsive behavior, because of the soil they've raised on is deprived of these nutrients, you see. Well, I have a video that runs the whole thing down called White Racism Nutritional Cause, and I just run it all down about the soil and all that. I have about 10 or 14 videos on various subjects. I think I have about 10 with me tonight. But nonetheless, they act that way because of the soil they're on. And we weren't raised on that soil. So what they prescribe as normal is a psychosis. They think that mental illness is normal. King James was a faggot. We all know that. We all know Michelangelo was a faggot, and that man who posed for Jesus was the man he was going with. We know that that picture in that white Bible is a homosexual guy that people are praying to save them. How can you fall on your knees and ask a faggot to save you? Because somebody white taught you. That's why. So we're just going back and reclaim this nutrition because we got to do it. Hatshepsut ate this way, Imhotep ate this way, Ramesses ate this way, Akhenaten ate this way. They ate this way. This is how they ate. They combined their food properly. They weren't frying rats and rodents and eating them, what you call pigs and rabbits and all that stuff. They were not doing that. They were eating whole food, whole wheat, millet, kush, things of that sort. Millet is very good for people with sickle cell anemia. So is yam extract. If you take that, you won't even have an attack. But you will have a high incidence of twins, so. But that's no problem. That's no problem. So once we go back to that nutritional thing, we'll be much better in footing. Because our attention span will be greater. Because when you take away certain nutrients, your attention span gets decreased. You take away the copper, you take away the manganese, the zinc, you take away these nutrients, and your attention span goes with it. That's the study they did in New York, for 10 years in the public school system, and took all the white sugar products out in the salt. And they did it in 10 different prisons in Virginia and various other states. They just took out the white sugar and the bleached white flour out of the juvenile prisons, and the suicides went to zero, the crime went down, the recidivist rate went down, IQ went up to highest increase in recorded history in America, just by taking out some white sugar and bleached white flour. And then we're pumping this stuff in our kids, defeating them before they even get a chance. Totally defeating them nutritionally before they get a chance. So we're just becoming more mindful of this whole process. It's a lot to know if you hear it from white people, but it's not a lot to know if you hear it from somebody black. I'm not trying to make it sound simpler than what it is. It is just this simple. When I was here before, I just asked you just to be more of a racist. If you have to be, if it's white, don't eat it. It solves the problem because it doesn't have any value. It really doesn't. White sugar has no nutritional value. It's classified as a drug. Salt is a drug. Bleached white flour is a drug. It has no nutritional value. It's just a little paste stuff. And it sells quite well because it has a long shelf life. But it has no nutritional value whatsoever. We weren't raised on bread. Bread is a new thing. All nations aren't raised on bread. It's totally new to our diet. Cow's milk is new to African people. That's why over 70% of us can't digest it even today. It is new to African people. All of this sugar, 200 pounds a year, that is way out of the question. That is new to African people. The sugar is just, it's probably one of the most lethal drugs around. That's why they spray it on tobacco. That's why they put it in all the medicines, cough syrup, this and that, because it's so addicting. And it also causes you to have an unstable personality, which they call cyclothymic behavior, which they call prone to be violent, genetic violence, you see. Because they can didactically make you out of a fool with no problem. If I feed you like a white person, you will think like a white person. If I feed you like an African, you will be dangerous to me. So it's for my benefit to feed you like me. Because if I can make you crazy like me, I can control you. White man cannot control an African person with African consciousness, consciousness of their history, consciousness of their spirituality, cannot control that kind of person. But I feed you like a white boy, I can control you like a white boy. That's for sure. Like, damn it. There is they had a language called Afriche, you know, long ago. It was so-called slavery. It was the way out. First of all, Latin is just Latinized African words, because a lot of those words are not even European words. You have to remember Europeans didn't have canals, sluices, ships, and all that. They just took the words from us. The crew people, that's where they got the word crew from, on a boat. The Almorados, that's where they get the word admiral from. We were masters of the sea, so all these words are our words. But when they come back to us, we don't recognize them anymore. We have to recognize nutrition as our science from one of our words. I try to make it simple because nutrition is very simple. If it's, we'll just start off with if it's white, don't eat it. We just start there. And then we can go someplace else with our nutrition. We have to be mindful that when you're eating properly, you don't use that much toilet paper. You really don't. But when you got a whole lot of slime coming out your body, you're going to use about a roll of toilet paper, read about 2 or 3 ebonies. While you're in there. And I doubt if anybody want to come into the bathroom after you left. You know, enough to turn a funeral up alley. So it's just very simple, because you get all these signals that you're doing something wrong. You're getting cramps. It's just so many. You get a headache. You don't know where it's coming from. There's so many signals that, hey, you're doing something wrong. You get cramps, you get headaches, you get dizzy. You get constipated, you're always eating all the time. And when you're eating all the time, that's classified as a mental illness, by the way. That's characteristic of Europeans. Eat a whole lot and then binge. Say, well, I ate too much, I guess I won't eat too much. So they eat a little bit, then they eat a whole lot, then they binge. Then they eat a whole lot. Because that's characteristic of them, because the food supply, they had a short growing season, so they had to eat a lot. And then it was all gone because of the Ice Age. So that's something left over from their Ice Age era. They still eat that way. Just overeat, stuff themselves, and then they punish themselves and say, well, I'm going to do better. I'm going to eat a salad. Can't no salad rescue that kind of stuff. That's too much to ask of 2 leaves of lettuce. So it is a psychological kind of disorder, because the food is based on your emotional state of mind. People eat because they're angry. People eat because they're upset. Black people eat more potato chips than anybody in America. And we use more paper towels than any other group, too. I don't know why. But these are things we do. And now they're focusing on all the commercials, spending more money, the Pepsi people, on these ethnic kind of commercials. They're wrapping their way to some more money to suppress us. And they're aiming them at not only after the Afro-Americans, but the so-called Puerto Ricans who think they are another race for some reason. Our African brothers who've been done that, too. Just don't think, what are you? I'm Puerto Rican. You look African to me. But see, that's the kind of thing that's been done to our brothers and sisters, you know. And don't go through no thing like years ago, people run around and say, well, I want to get to the real source. I'm going to get an African book. I'm sorry. You pick up one of them books and you're going to be in bad shape, because colonialism put a job on our brothers and sisters over there. Let me tell you, they put a job on them. That's why so much is dependent on us African Americans in America. We know more about Africa than our brothers over there. We're the ones who making them sell the African garments, you know, even though they're charging us too much for them, which is totally ridiculous. You know? But we're the ones who making this thing called Africanity live and making it alive. Believe me, I've been all over these so-called areas where our culture is supposed to be, but it's right here, beating strong, very strong. We're in the mouth of the tiger. We know his every move. We know which way he's going to go, because we know he's not that intelligent. We think that, since we think, that white people think, but we don't think the way they think. We think. We look at everything in a relationship to everything. They look at everything as a step-by-step kind of thing. You know, they even learn step by step. You know, paint a step there, paint it there. And that's how they learn how to dance, step by step, just like that. Then they got to get these little books and learn how to have sex. Oh, push it in, pull it out. Push it in, pull it out. Turn. Oh, it's not there. What'd I do? And learn all these things, step by step. That's how they do things. I'm going to close by telling you, I used to play in bands. I guess I don't talk a lot about myself. But nonetheless, I was raised in the projects, 7 brothers and sisters, that little thing, and I used to wear clothes that my brother passed down to me. We used to buy shoes from a place called 1,000 on a Shelf, 1,000 used shoes on a shelf. And that's where we got our shoes from. It's not a sad story. I learned it was sad when I went to school, but later on I learned it was a good story in college when they said this thing about extended family. I didn't know I was an extended family. I just thought I was being tortured and harassed, you know, because I did something wrong. My grandmother beat me. Then I go down the street, somebody else would beat me. I heard about you, boy. And they go up, you know, everybody was beating me. That's the way it looked to me, but everybody was looking out for me. I really, you know, I didn't know. When you're a kid, you just didn't know. You know, even when I went in the white neighborhood and stole the milk off the steps, they used to have a milkman. I don't know if, am I telling my age? Well, anyway, milk didn't always come in a carton. It used to come in a bottle, and there used to be cream on top of it. And they used to deliver milk on the white people's steps, and they used to deliver the bread. And we used to have a junk man who went around selling junk. And he would sell drugs too, and we called him the junk man. That's why they called drugs junk, because we would buy it from the junk man. I mean, and the white people would have abortions, they put them in our trash, and my mother said, you can't go to trash anymore. So I couldn't go to trash. Anyway, I'd steal some milk, and I'd be partying back, eating the bread, and laid up, and belching and everything. And they said, boy, what you done did? I said, I ain't did nothing at all. And I get a beating, and then my grandmother beat me, and then my grandfather drive up in the car and said, I can't even see about you, boy. I said, oh my God, another ass kick. But they would pull down your pants and make you pick out a switch, you know, and I was trying to pick out the smallest one I could get, you know. I was looking for the smallest one, and you had to trim off all the leaves, and you'd be crying while you're taking the leaves off. And then my grandfather just throw the switch away and grab half a trunk of a tree. I said, God, I'm going to get it now. But anyway, I was raised in that kind of atmosphere, and then I got out of the projects, and we moved up a step or two. I think we got another place. Meanwhile, my father was trying to be a welder in the Union during the war, and after the war was over, they kicked him out of the job and some stuff, and he couldn't take it. So I think he went mentally ill or something. He recuperated. I saw him yesterday. He's raising 2 children of my sister who's on crack, and her husband died of AIDS, so she has AIDS. Anyway, this is the black story, only in America. So I got out of the projects, and then I went into school, which I wasn't too happy with, and I majored in music. I majored in art, and I got interested in music, and I ended up on the road with a carnival, you know, a circus-like outfit for 2 years, traveling around with these midgets and fat people and skinny people were weird, and I did that for a couple of years. And I ended up in Europe studying nutrition. it gets longer than that. But in any case, I used to work in what they call a Royal Theater in Baltimore, and these acts would come in like Aretha Franklin and Jimmy Smith and John Coltrane, all these people. So Mons Mabley, I worked with her. She was a very nice person to me, you know, very nice. But I was going to close with her joke. I got to it finally. She used to tell this joke. Jackie Mons Mabley, she would dress like a clown, but she was one of the best dancers. She was what we call a hoofer. She could dance, man. She could dance. Her and Sammy Davis Jr. can dance, man. They know that art. So Mons would tell this joke about a married couple, and the husband is going to get the groceries. And he's going down the steps to get these groceries, and the wife hollers down there and said, "Joe, don't forget the black flag for the roaches." He looks up and says, "If they can't eat what we eat, let them starve." I thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
You can just have a seat.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else to say? We really appreciate the information this brother has brought to us. He's indeed a healer. And I think the information that he shared with us, and just for his information, the University of Medicine and Dentistry is a couple of blocks from here. And the enrollment there is between 120 to 150 per class. How many of us you think make those classes? Guess. 2, 3. Go see, go check it. Don't take my word. If 2 or 3 of us make those classes, right here in New York, but you think that those sisters and brothers who go there, you think they can get this information? And the information they're going to get will continue the damage to us. So I think that it is important to understand that the only way we are going to win our final battle is to be healthy. And this brother today has laid the foundation for that. And I think we should express our appreciation once again to the brother for the information he's brought to us. Okay, for those sisters and brothers.
Wait a minute. Hold it. I asked the question and answer period. Keep it going. All right? I just want to hear everything. All right, go ahead, sister. Begin again.
Okay,
Yeah, you asked me about a fruitarian menu book.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know,
I can't think of a source for you particularly for a menu book, but probably about the Vegan Society would probably be about it. You can contact them through the North American Vegetarian Society in Dogoville, New York. That would probably be close. But most of the things you're eating are probably fruits anyway, because whole wheat is the fruiting part of the wheat, and corn and barley, all of those in the fruit family. So mostly what you're eating is probably already fruit anyway.
so
The beans and seeds, all of those in there.
when you travel, they become fruits?
They're still part of the fruit family until they get old. They're in the fruiting state, as you would say.
How bad are grains? Are they necessary?
Well, as far as energy states are measured, the greens, they should be picked before the plant blossoms or fruits.
Grains.
Greens, that's what I'm saying.
Grains.
Grains. Oatmeal is a flat seed. Yeah, that's all right. It's just a flat seed. Somebody flatten it out. The problem is the rollers cook the oatmeal. When the heat from the rollers will actually cook it. So when it's in the store, it's already cooked, but they don't put that on the label. If they flatten the seed, they have cooked it, because the rollers are so hot it cooks them. But you're getting more specific, I take it, with your question. You want to get more specific.
It's all clicking in.
Okay.
Because I used to work in a health food store.
Uh-huh.
I'm thinking if we do sell oats that aren't rolled.
Oh, it probably is in a seed.
I've seen the wheat berry stuff.
Yeah.
What about books with African holistic sex practices? Since,
I really don't recall any. It's not that well, let me just run it down to you so you won't have to be looking for the book.
Actual sexual intercourse.
Uh-huh.
As far as keeping my body in shape, as far as the uterus and everything.
Yeah. What part you want me to run down?
All of it.
Oh, in the middle of the beginning.
No. That's okay. I'll find it. Enemas and clients.
Well, a healthy person, they're not good. Some people are not at that state, so they probably would need a little flush out. But somebody that's healthy and their muscles are working all right in the internal system, they wouldn't need an enema, because the food naturally flushes you out better than any enema or colonic could ever do.
And that's after you removed all that old stuff. Because I started with live food, and I still had like a lot of gray bread and like pasty stuff first thing, and I noticed that I was lagging.
You probably would have needed a digestive enzyme with that, because your liver wasn't used to handling that sort of thing. You should have taken the digestive enzyme with that.
Like what?
They have quite a few vegetarian digestive enzymes on the market. Solgar makes one, cow makes one, and papain and bromelain, the one from pineapple and the one from papayas. They're good.
Okay. You talked about when the digestive system cuts down.
Yeah, it shuts down. Yeah.
Shuts down when you're upset or stressed.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Are herbs, like herb water, is okay to take when your digestive system shuts down?
Oh, when you're in a stressful response, you just want to alkaline your system, because you're going to go acid when you shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to go with some alkaline things, yeah. That'll work. Burdock would do that. Burdock would help. That's just one of them. Dandelion would help. There are quite a few, I can't think of all. Alfalfa has vitamin K in it, that would work. Maybe you want to go into the berries, saw palmetto, and team that up with some rosehip and things of that sort. Juniper berries. Hawthorn would probably be better. Maybe you ought to just go ahead and stimulate your pineal gland. Take some gotu kola. Yeah, to get some blood infusion to your pineal gland. And team that up with probably some papaya or mango, like that. And maybe use some glutamic acid and niacin and things of that sort. And go ahead and feed your pineal gland. That's probably where the major problem is stemming from anyway. That's where most of the sexual problems come from in the first place, actually, because it throws the whole rhythm off of the sexual system when the pineal gland is not stimulated. Because you have 12 chakra centers in your brain. You have 12 steps on the Jacob's ladder, and there are 12 steps to the steps that Shun was using to pull up goddess Nut when she formed the sky. All of that comes out of that, and you're supposed to stop 12 times during sexual intercourse and do a kind of meditation prayer, visualizing the orgasm to go up your spine and go to your pineal gland. So each time you get to an orgasmic state, the man's supposed to stop and visualize that energy going up to the pineal gland. You follow me? Some people can go 5 times or 3 times and then do ejaculation, but you won't need ejaculation at all if you are doing the proper meditation, taking an orgasm before the ejaculatory state in the male as well as female, and visualize that energy coming up your spinal column. You're going to come up the right and go up to the pineal gland, focus it there, and come back down on the left. But see, you have two sex centers, so you're going to go simultaneously up on both sides and simultaneously down on both sides, where the man is just going to go up on one side and come down on the other side, because he only has one sex center. You follow me? Because you have 10% more fat, he has 10% more water. So, but that whole thing gets reversed on the sexual intercourse in black people. You flip electrical circuits, and then you flip back again. It's one of those kind of things in black people, but not in white people. See, that's why they go more animal in sex and start biting each other and clawing the hell out of each other. You know, yeah.
I've been using Dr. Bronner's mineral bouillon, and I was asking how good is that?
Well, it's okay. It's okay. I'm familiar with the product. You know, it's just to stabilize your mineral, your calcium, magnesium, that sort of thing. Yeah, what you putting it in sesame seed butter or something, tahini? You mix it in with that too? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I thought you were making some fantastic salad dressing like that. Oh. Using lemon on it too sometimes?
Not really. I just use the mineral bouillon because when I make it real complicated, I tend to have like some type of gassy reaction, so I just leave it at the bouillon.
Oh. It sounds like you're steaming, right?
No, raw.
Yeah, the bouillon. You talking about the vegetable bouillon? Oh yeah. Is that the low sodium one or the salt one? Which one you doing?
I don't know. I'm thought he had one. Dr. Bronner's.
Yeah, I know Bron. He comes out of that religious cult thing. You better do a little ritual for that stuff because he's coming out of another religious system. So you just do a little African thing there with it. He comes out of a cult group. The Quakers are a cult group at one time, and so is the Masons in this country. Those are the ones who came in and tried to control slavery. The Quakers, who spread the syphilis epidemic through our ancestors. They're a little kinky group there, but you bless it, please.
I was listening to what you said about food at night. What about fruit and vegetables also? Instead of just cleaning up?
Well,
I don't get home until later on at the time, so.
Oh, so you have a rhythm disorder there. How interesting. So you're going to do fruits at night?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes I come home and I eat.
Yeah, you can do some juices too? Yeah, then that would probably be all right too, because you can't. Yeah, fruits at night, and try to do your protein early during the day. Your protein meal, heavy one, whatever you're using for protein. Try to do that early. Give your body a chance to break that down. It takes 12 hours to do the proteins and the fats. The juices and the fruits are the ones that metabolize the fastest, so they would be better at night. Yeah, because your body does minerals at night and vitamins during the day. You follow me? They best metabolize at night because they're on that kind of cycle. They're on a melatonin cycle, and the vitamins are on a serotonin cycle. You follow me? Yeah, and they one goes down a water trail and the other one goes down what they call a oil trail. Two different systems. Yeah. You should be all right. Sounds like you're doing good to me. Yeah. Oh, thank you. What's this?
Next. Round. Wait a minute. All right. Go ahead. I believe you're next, right? Come on.
Yes, I'd like to thank you very kindly for your lecture, Brother. In listening to you, it was a little frightening in a way, like you do everything. As far as, I guess, one's personal diet. But I did want to ask you, what would you normally consider, say, a good diet say on a weekly or daily basis. You know, we came up under this European system, so you know, we're used to a certain type of system of eating. But what would you consider a well-balanced diet for developing, you know, physically, emotionally, spiritually?
Oh, you just asked me.
Without what we usually eat.
Well, see, I'm used to dealing with people that eat meat and eat junk food, so
I've been a victim of that.
well, that's 90% of the people I treat are like that. So I just get them to a healthier state. I haven't never gotten someone just the way you think I'm talking. I'm used to just trying to get them to sprinkle bran on their food to increase the fiber. You see, I'm just working basic stuff, just increasing the fiber. Is a massive undertaking, but fruits in the morning and fruits in the evening and proteins and vegetable kind of things during the day. Because in the morning your body's trying to cleanse itself from last night, and in the evening your body's trying to cleanse itself from the day. So at night, fruits, in the morning, fruits, and then around noon, your high protein meal, and then your vegetables, as people call them. As long as you can get that kind of rhythm going on, where you're going to fruit and then you're going to the earth, and then you go into the leaves. You see, we work in the plant, if you follow me. I went to the fruiting body, then to the protein, which is the seeds, and then I went to the leaves, which people call vegetables. Then I went back to the fruits. I'm just going in a rhythm kind of thing. Yeah, just generally that's the way to do it. But most people...
Cooked foods.
Well...
Eliminate any kind of cooked food altogether.
If you can get your beans ripe, you don't have to cook them. But most people don't get their beans ripe. They get them when they're not ripe, when they're dry. So they got to turn that sugar back into its fruiting state. So they have to cook them, as they call it. Pre-digestion, as they used to call it. So they have to be heated up. The beans as people call them, which are basically seeds. Yeah. And getting rid of the salt and the sugar and the oil. The major problem is the white sugar and the bleached white flour. If you can get those two monsters, you should be on your road. Yeah, salt by, some people have to go to kelp and go on kelp for a while. Then after a while, your taste will direct you home. It would.
What about milk for cooking?
Oh, they have milk substitutes. There's usually some mucilaginous sort of plant, or bark from a tree that they use. Milk for cooking is easy to substitute. Even the eggs is easy to substitute.
So widely used, you know.
What, milk? Oh, yeah. The thing is, the cow won't drink the milk. That's the problem. If they won't drink it, so why should you? The cow won't eat no yogurt, cheese, and none of that. Ice cream, they look at you like a fool. You put that in front of them.
Yeah. Thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you.
I could ask you a lot more questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have a question about water. I heard two different schools of thought about distilled water and mineral waters.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's into drinking bottled waters and things like that. Personally, in the area where I live, there's a spring and I can go up and fill up my jugs and stuff.
Great.
But I heard something that the minerals that you take in from the water are like dead minerals or non-living minerals, so you have a problem with them being stored in the body or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard another school of thought about the distilled water, that your body was not designed to take something on it as pure as that. And I don't know if there was any, logic to either one of those two.
Well, basically, I'm just working with getting people to drink water, period. And this is kind of refining the discussion for me. Most of the water we drank was spring water coming from springs which had minerals in it, so I don't understand that. And the body is going to distill the water anyway before it metabolizes it in the first place. And people drinking distilled water, they're just trying to cleanse their body out of some junk or whatever, so they're using it for kind of a medical purpose. If they breathe in this air up here, what used to be air. If they breathe in this, then they're going to have to wash out some of those impurities. The antioxidants, as they call them, free radicals, with some distilled water would help. Yeah.
It would help.
Yeah, it would help. Yeah.
The reason I was thinking that way, I was confused about it because I know about chelation,
Mm-hmm.
when they use that as a delivery system for minerals when you take a vitamin or a mineral supplement.
Mm-hmm.
was, I think you get something like 3 to 10% absorption if there's no chelation delivery system as amino acid or an enzyme, which comes in like if you're eating a fruit or a vegetable or something like that. And I have another question, just about me personally. Every now and then I get like a heart palpitation. And I've been getting off and on for about 20 years. And I don't know if it's something that I might have in my diet or whatever might be causing that.
Well, I don't know offhand, but take some hawthorn berries. It sounds like you maybe have, yeah, take some hawthorn and of course potassium, but mostly get the hawthorn berries and start that. That should help you out. Yeah.
Because I mean, the first time it ever happened to me, I was playing basketball, and I went up for a jump shot, and all of a sudden my heart just started racing.
Yeah, get some hawthorn berries to stabilize the rhythmicity of your heart, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, my brother, for a very informative lecture.
GLE.
I have 2 questions. One is, again, on the water. Some people say that you should drink 8 glasses of water a day, and others say that you should only drink when you're thirsty. What is your opinion on that?
I think you have to drink at least 50 fluid ounces of water a day to stop from dehydrating yourself. Just to stop from dehydrating, you have to drink a certain amount of water anyway.
Even though you're not thirsty, you should still drink.
People don't have a taste for water in this country anyway, so I've never heard nobody say they're thirsty just for water. They'll say they're hungry and they want a potato salad, but they never say they'll name, I have a craving for spring water. I never hear them say that, because we don't have a natural apostat mechanism functioning. So a lot of us just have to force ourselves to drink that water. But naturally our body would lead us to it. If somebody eating a whole watermelon, I wouldn't say, well, if we eating a lot of fruit, we're getting a lot of water. That's what I'm trying to say. So. But currently I would advise a person to drink the water, even if they have to dilute it in apple juice or orange juice or pear juice, drink the water. The more the better.
Also, I'd like to know, what is a good sweetener for lemonade? I love lemonade, and I've been using sugar to sweeten it. So what would be a good sweetener for lemonade?
Well, it's according to whether you got a natural sugar taste bud. If you have a natural sugar taste bud, then you can use stevia leaves, which is a herb. Stevia. S-T-E-V-I-A. Stevia leaves, which is a naturally sweet leaf. You can use that. It comes in powder and all that in stores. And if you need another kind of sweetener, they have rice and barley and malt syrups that come in the powdered form. And if you have a regular Anglo-American sugar taste bud, then you would probably have to cut that with some fructose. So you probably use a half of a grain sweetener with half of a fructose. And all of those come in liquid and in powder. Some people are still into a honey, so they would use half honey and half fructose. So that divides up the danger, because honey is toxic to the pancreas and fructose is toxic to the liver. So I'm just trying to take a lot of the burden off the pancreas. So just cut the grain sweetener, which is malt, barley, malt, rice, and all those kind of grain sweeteners. Cut that with fructose, and it'll give you the kind of sweets you want, safe, in a safe way. Yeah.
Well, what about maple syrup? Is that okay?
The benefit of maple is the part that's coming from the bark. So if you just want the nutritional value of the maple, just grind up a piece of the maple bark and eat it. But the sugar is the problem. So maybe you ought to use half maple syrup and half fructose and mix them both together until you're able to get off the sugar, and then go to a grain sugar and mix that with fructose until you eventually can just reduce it. Then maybe you'll have a taste for stevia by then. which is nutritionally sound. You can eat as much as that all day. It would not hurt you whatsoever. Stevia. Yeah, some people even have to use licorice too. Uh-huh. Yes. But
I have about 4 questions. One of them is, what kind of advice do you have for people who are towards vegetarian?
Thank you very much.
going towards vegetarian? Well, today that's kind of easy with all those kind of substitutes, the soybean products out. Substituting one vegetarian meal a day and eating their other kind of meals. Just getting into it gradually till they have one vegetarian day and one regular meat day and one vegetarian day and one regular meat day. Or one vegetarian meal and 2 meat meals, like that. Just gradually getting into it. Yeah.
How do you feel about products made by Sundial?
Do I know those people? Oh.
Yeah, Mountain, stuff like that.
I don't know that. Do I know those products, Ricardo? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the products. I don't know the products. That's what my only problem.
How do you feel about juice fasting?
It's good. It's good for cleansing the system. Yeah. Getting you a good start.
What kind of damage does caffeine have on the body?
Oh my gosh. It's like a double drug. It's like a speeder and a depressant. This works sort of like nicotine. Caffeine is, that's just bad news. It's in some herbal things now. Yerba mate has caffeine in it, and guarana now. I have to tell you that, but it drains the adrenal glands. It drains. And so usually a person that has an adrenal deficiency, they'll take some natural remedy and they'll just feel tired. They'll just feel fatigued or like they're ready to go to sleep after they take something that's very good for them. And you know that person's suffering from an adrenal deficiency, and caffeine will just overstimulate the adrenal glands and drain them twice as fast. That's what happens, and leaves the defenses nowhere. You don't have any.
Do you have any news for adults or people who's on borderline diabetes?
One foot in and one foot out, the grave kind of thing. Well, they're going to make some dietary adjustments, are they? The diabetes mellitus, they're going to make some dietary adjustments, knowing that they're floating all that sugar in their blood is what's the problem that makes them prone to infections, because they can feed anything with all that sugar in there. It's just so nice for bacteria. I would suggest that they get some yam extract to help stimulate that pancreas there and help them with that, and get into some red raspberry on the herbal side, and dandelion, those, and of course golden seal to stimulate the natural insulin production, to help the insulin start the pancreas to do its own thing, basically. Just stimulate the pancreas because it's gone to sleep.
That's it. Thanks.
Oh.
Our environment is so toxic, it's really hard to just to wake up every day. What's good to get any metals out?
Well, as we talked earlier, the juicing, a juice diet for a week or 2 would flush them out, as we know. Then you have to go into some self-defense kind of things with some selenium. And you being a man, you would need some liquid zinc. Liquid zinc would be most beneficial for you to help get rid of those heavy metals, as you call them. The copper goes, and you need copper, and you need, I would say, the zinc, liquid zinc, and something they call vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin E, and a combination formula with the selenium. So the men have the highest concentration of selenium in their prostate, as you know, and the highest amount of vitamin C. So we know what the basic defense that we need because that's how we protect the pineal gland too, with the vitamin C, selenium, and the liquid zinc, because they have a lot of rhythm in them. But I would suggest that, just a kind of self-defense every so often to do, maybe once every other week, or just drink a gallon of garlic. You grind up a garlic and put it in distilled water and drink a gallon of that. You ever did that? Spike it with a little ginger.
It didn't stay down. I tried it, didn't stay down.
Oh, it didn't stay down? Oh, your body's a coward, eh? Maybe you need some lithium. Oh, they don't sell it. How about some lecithin? Lecithin and garlic capsules combined.
Well, I take the lecithin.
You take it with the garlic?
No, by itself.
Take it with the garlic, because that will metabolize.
You mean in food?
No. You can't get the high dosage I'm talking about. I want garlic capsules with lecithin capsules combined. So those two would help emulsify the heavy metals that's accumulating, and the garlic would help with the bacteria and all that sort of thing. And also, you would need a herb called echinacea. You have that one?
Take that vitamin C complex.
You're doing all right.
Really, a lot of work to do. Have you heard of agar?
Yeah.
What is it used for? I saw it in health food store, $60 a pound. It's supposed to be one of the best remedies for heavy metals.
It's mostly just slime. You could get the same thing with okra. Well, to take Irish moss. Irish moss. It just has a lot of mucus, and it's going to bond all of those toxins together and flush it out. So try the Irish moss. You can make it into a drink. It makes a nice drink, beverage kind of drink. Yeah. They selling it for that much? That's how much tiger bones cost. They sell tiger bones for that amount. Yeah, testicles from bulls, yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question. You were talking about the depression and stuff, like mental illness. I was browsing through a pamphlet that was passed out by the National Mental Health Association, or something to that effect. And they were talking about how, like, when you're depressed and stuff, that, like, they said that changing your diet and stuff like that, wouldn't change it. They said that the only thing that will help you would be, like, medicine or psychotherapy. That's what they said. That's the two things. They said that exercising more, changing with you, that's not going to change. That's not going to do anything. I wanted to know, where that came from. Well, why did they tell you?
Well, niacinamide would help. 2,000 milligrams 3 times a day, and 2,000 milligrams before retiring. On the nutrient side, and glutamic acid is used for that, as well as pyridoxine, which is vitamin B6. Psychotherapy has a 95% failure rate. So it helps the business, but it doesn't help the but the mind is mostly a spirit kind of element in the first place, and black people have more spiritual illnesses than Europeans. We have something called Llaila. Llaila is the spiritual impotency. It's known to exist in Africa of men, Llaila. We have a lot of spiritually related diseases. The Europeans say everything is based in the mind, in which they should say that, since they lack that. But I think you shouldn't listen to that. That's mostly propaganda. You can actually get a mental illness if you're deprived of niacinamide. You can feel schizophrenic and suicide if you're deprived of it. If you're deprived of iron, you will not be able to concentrate. So they have to do an iron level test on any child in school to find out whether their attention span is gone because of the nutrients alone, which they already know that this causes that. So iron and they know the minerals are beneficial for mental disease. That's why they give people lithium. They know these things, but they wouldn't want you to seize control of your own mind. That's the last thing they want a black person to do.
Okay, so what would you say would be the answer instead of doing that, if that was the case?
Take the niacinamide, take the glutamic acid, take it. Yeah.
Okay, and then the second thing I wanted to ask you about, when you were talking about playing video games,
Yeah.
and how that zaps your attention span. Now, suppose that, you went under that, you went through a stage or whatever when you were a kid or whatever, and you played a lot of video games, and you do have problems like, concentration,
Yeah.
attention span, like if a teacher came to lecture, it's like you lectured, you couldn't pay attention but for so long, like maybe 30 minutes or whatever. After that, your mind would just,
Yeah, that's right.
how do you get, your mind to go back to, being able to do that?
Oh, that requires work. I usually, I don't focus a person that long. I may concentrate on a thought at the most 5 minutes, and then I'll switch to another thought, because I know that it's difficult to focus on a thought for about a half an hour for the average audience, you see. That's a classroom kind of situation where I would do some focusing like that. But generally, audiences do not pay attention. They have like the 45 record. That's a 3-minute attention span. All speakers know that. And so we don't, except when someone is given a didactic, academic kind of lecture, they go into this long thing, and the audience is not going to follow them worth a damn, but they do it anyway. But most speakers know that the audience is not going to follow them any more than 3.5 minutes on any idea, no matter how tremendous it is, no matter where it came from. The audience is not going to do that. And to refocus a person, they have to use breathing. You have to actually breathe, because breathing is the key to energy in the body. The deeper your breath, the more energy you get. Breathing is the key. So you may have to start just breathing. Get yourself an ankh, put it in your hand, sit down in a chair, spread your legs apart, sit forward in the chair, and start focusing the energy on the ankh. And once you focus it on the ankh, take that energy, put it in your solar plexus, and work it on up to your pineal gland, which is in your third ventricle, which has a little cloud under it. It has an electromagnetic cloud. I didn't bring the slides to show you. Everything that's important in your body is in the third ventricle, the hypothalamus and the pineal gland. And sitting under the pineal gland is something that looks like the galaxy. They have never been able to tell what the hell it is. I have pictures of it and all that. But everything that's important is in your third ventricle, you see. So it comes in threes, the Mother, Father, God thing, the Trinity as the Christians would call it. So you want to use the ankh because of it represents.
What is an ankh?
An ankh is a symbol. It's a symbol that represents some energy, and some people call that energy spiritual, some people call that energy God, some people call it things like that. Some people call it ma'at, you see. And you hold this ankh, which looks like a cross with a head on it, which looks like the sun's eternal orbit. And it's to help you focus your energy. That's why you get the ankh. It's just an exercise, you see. And you hold it in your hand, and you sit down in a chair, and you sit like this. And you hold it here. And you visualize that energy on the ankh, and you put it in the ankh, and you feel it going up your back to your pineal gland, and put it back down in the ankh. And it's to help you focus your energy. And as you take energy up, you take a deep breath. The slower you breathe in, the slower you breathe out. So you breathe in as slow as you can, and you breathe out as slow as you can. And you do that 2 times, 4 times, 10 times, till you can do it up to 12 times. Or what they call sets in weightlifting. You do 1 set of 12. You wait a while, you do another set of 12. And all this is doing is focusing your mind. And don't think about focusing your mind, just do it. And the habit will, once you program yourself, as they call it today, you will get more energy out of your thoughts. It's not how big the thought is, it's how much energy you get out of it. See? So you just go slow and tell me how you're doing, write me a letter, I'll write you back, and I'll know what's going on.
Because I was listening to another, like a Wholistic or whatever,
Yeah.
the doctor or whatever, was on WBI, and she was talking about how if you can control your breathing, you can control your sexual drive or something. She was talking about something that had to do with sex.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand it.
Because black people breathe deeper. Selfish people breathe shallow. White people breathe very shallow. And we breathe very deep. That's a characteristic of right-minded people. People that use their right mind breathe deeper than people that use their left mind.
That's right mind is a creative mind? Creative
Yeah, but see, black people use both sides of their mind because of the pineal gland. It goes back so fast, but it's just the way white people identify us as being right-minded, but we're equal-minded, but they identify us that way. And they were just talking about breathing because it gives you more energy. It's the key to things. If you want to control somebody, first thing you do is control their breath. That's why they have chanting in various religions, because they're trying to control their breath. Kwame Homa, now lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake. The first thing they're going to do is control your breath. When I worked for those psychiatrists, I was telling you, when I used to hypnotize the psychotherapy group, the first thing I do is control their breath. I say, well, visualize yourself walking and smell the breeze, the fresh breeze. So I get the person concentrated on their breathing. And then I start dividing up their mind. Once I divide up their mind, I control them. Visualize your breathing. Feel the breath as it passes your nose. Feel your feet as they're walking in the sand. Hear the air and the birds going by you. I'm dividing up their attention and all these senses. And once I divided them, then I can go in the break and hypnotize them. So I used to hypnotize people as a living. You know, people think it's such a big deal. African people do it, they call it a trance. Christians do it, they call it possessed by the Holy Ghost. They go right into a trance. And when you're doing this deep breathing, you're going into a trance that introduces your body into a whole Afrocentric modality. So I didn't want to lay all that on you. At one time, you know, the whole continent, I was just giving you a little island called Madagascar. Then we work our way into the continent. But in any case, just go slow. Man, don't rush this thing. Don't rush it all, because a lot of learning has a residual effect. Some books I would just read. I didn't understand them at all. I just read the whole book. The guy used to taught me, he said, just read the book. I just read the book. 2 months later, it kicked in. So I read some learning. Some people have to understand in order to learn. Some people learn and then they understand, you see. It comes in threes. Some things I approach I don't know a thing about. I just read it. The understanding comes after I read it. Some things I have to understand while I'm reading to understand it. So you can understand while you're reading, before you read, and after you read. But Europeans get you to focus on one aspect of your brain. They say you have to understand this thing while you're reading it. Or after you read it. You understand that? No, they always say understand after you read it. They only get you to use one way of learning. There's 3 ways of learning. You learn after the idea is put in you. You learn while the idea is in you. So this opens you up. When you start deep breathing, you start learning from different areas of your body, because every area of your body holds a different energy. They used to say a certain energy is in your body. They say passion is in your liver. Now they say passion is in your heart. See, you fall in love with your heart and your soul. You put energy in your heart. So some things you learn with your heart, some things you feel. So energy is focused in that chakra. So now you're going to start using all these 12 chakras in your body to help you think, and stop relying on your brain, because the brain will have you snorting crack and smoking cigarettes. You can't trust your brain down the corner and back. You know, it's not a good instrument to rely on. You have to rely on your spirit more. And so when you're doing this deep breathing, you call in the forces of your genetic code, which we call our ancestors. Now you call in a whole army to help you think. And that's what I'm trying to do. If you want to beat somebody, don't go by yourself, get some help. So you're trying to gain some better understanding of your mind, get some help. Call on your ancestors. Breathe. They're in your cells. They're in your genes. Just breathe and you'll get them.
Okay, one last thing. Now, so you said since the psychotherapy, the rate of it was bad.
Yeah.
What would you do instead of that? Instead of going to see like a psychotherapist or something?
Oh, breathe. Take the niacin. Take the Belladin. Start focusing. It's going, just go slow. We're going to start off like this.
All right, Brother Afrika, thank you for your presence and for your work. There's one question.
Yeah.
Is it best for African people to eat foods from the African soil that our ancestors have been used to eating, you know,
I'm I'm afraid with the atomic waste that the French and the Russians and the Portuguese and the United States have in those forests that's leaking out now, today, in our country, I wouldn't want to chance it.
So would you just as well eat
Yeah.
millet grown here as...
Yeah, I'm afraid so, because the soil over there is really bad. It really is.
Did you want to...
No, I was going to give the meditator the card. So he's focused someplace else. Hey.
He's all right.
Oh, okay. All right.
Also, for any Africans here who would start, say, a cooperative farm or gardens, whether they're going to do it on their own or with a community of Africans, what would you suggest that we grow first?
Oh, you have to feed the soil first. So I don't know what that soil is lacking. Probably you would.
That would depend on where you are.
Well, alfalfa is about the best one. Yeah, to just grow and then crop under because it's so nutritious. Yeah.
And that would help the soil, but then you would have fertile ground.
Yeah, and then you have to do, the libations and the prayers and all that. That helps because you have to do that for Mother Earth. She won't respond. Yeah.
Also, a question about Dilantin. Okay, now I remember Brother Steve Copley was here. I remember him mentioning Dilantin one time and shaking his head as if it was the worst thing on earth. And I know it was something that was just designed by Europeans, so they feel great. But I know a number of people who are on Dilantin, for epilepsy. And I know that through studying your book, that skull cap and I believe valerian things that can be taken to help, I guess it would be equalize the brain waves. Now,
and tyrosine and phenylalanine. Tyrosine and phenylalanine.
okay.
Those amino acids, you combine them and it makes something called tryptophan, which is illegal. But if you put those two together, your body will make it convert them into tryptophan.
Okay.
And L-dopa, it does what we're talking about. It feeds the brain, relaxes it. And L-dopa is another one. L-dopa. D-O-P-A. D-O-P-A. L-dopa. That's another one. And of course, the phenylalanine, DL-phenylalanine, would be just nice. Alone for the depression and things of that sort. Yeah, phenylalanine. 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 And tyrosine. You combine tyrosine with phenylalanine and it makes something called tryptophan. Because tryptophan is illegal. But tryptophan is the one that will solve this problem you're talking about. Because Dilantin is mostly a central nervous system depressant. And it messes up the electrical waves in the brain anyway. So it's bad stuff. Yeah, but it's a muscle relaxing kind of thing.
All right, fair enough. Do you have any things that alternates that would be good to use for salt? Now I know this would be in the
kelp.
On a taste level.
Yeah, kelp would be one.
Okay. Kelp and
Combine it with sea salt for somebody just getting off the table salt. Combining kelp with sea salt for someone trying to get off of the salt.
But you would say definitely use the sea salt as in a sense to wean yourself away from.
Yeah, and then combine the sea salt with the kelp to get off the sea salt and end up with the kelp, and then get off the kelp and use celery if you want some salt.
Okay, because as you were saying, the food has the salt, has the oils, has everything that you're going to need anyway.
Yeah.
Mainly the whole food is what we're looking for.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, thank you very much, brother.
Thank you.
Hotep, my brother.
It's you.
This is certainly an honor. I give praise and thanks to the Creator for having you in the midst of us at this moment. And I wanted to ask you just a couple of questions. First of all, I need your address. I'd also like to know, how do you feel about wheatgrass juice?
Somebody needs chlorophyll. That's a good source of it. Chlorophyll, you can get it from alfalfa as well, or you can just buy straight chlorophyll.
Okay, so you don't advocate the juicing of wheatgrass
Well, it's, as a medicine, yes. It's a medicine. The person's after the chlorophyll, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, I thought perhaps because of the nutrients that are in wheatgrass, but you can get it also from alfalfa.
Yeah, you just want the chlorophyll, or buy liquid chlorophyll.
That's all it does.
Yeah.
Give you a lot of chlorophyll. What about cravings? Now, I find that at certain times I have a craving for chocolate.
Oh, yes, the estrogen. Estrogen will do that. When you get estrogen spurt, it'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do I combat that in terms of which herbs should I take when that does occur, as well as also eggs, which I know is a form of calcium?
Yeah, chicken fetus can be a form of calcium, yeah.
Unborn embryos.
Yeah. The estrogen. Oh, what, have you ever used dung quai or black cohosh? No, that may make it a little too sexual. Maybe you ought to use dung quai or some blessed thistle would be nice, but black cohosh would be better because it will help cleanse your system. This is just for the estrogen spurt. It's not going to do nothing about the craving per se. Maybe even in primrose oil would help with the craving. But craving is just glutamic acid and chromium.
Yes.
For craving sort of things.
Now the primrose oil, you just use it on your body?
No, you got to get evening primrose oil capsules.
Okay.
Yeah. Because you want to stabilize the estrogen.
Yes.
Because the estrogen is causing that cholesterol, as people talk about, it means absolutely nothing. It's causing, it bonds with that cholesterol and causes you to retain fat, as they say. Because the fat's trying to store energy. The thing is, the body is telling you what it needs, and it needs energy. Yes. And that's the way the body is getting it. But there's nothing wrong with the sweet craving. It's just being exploited by the Europeans. Because you would probably only have sweet things around. Grapes, mangoes, papayas, things that are naturally sweet would be around us if we were in our natural state. So it's, I can't blame the sweet craving.
Yes.
Yeah, you need energy. That's what you need.
Energy.
Yeah.
All right, in what form?
You may have to supplement your energy. That's why I was trying to balance the estrogen with some black cohosh if you want to, or dung quai, or evening primrose to stabilize the estrogen level because it's spurting on you. And
is that on, what doses should I take? Is that on a regular basis? Or?
This is at least 7 days before, and probably about 3 days after too. Yeah.
Fine. How do you feel about fasting, juice fasting, during certain periods of the year, or do you advocate?
Well, people are doing these juice fastings, which is not really a fast. It's just a liquid meal. Right. They do a liquid meal according to the solstice. They have some rhythm they're going to follow the summer or winter. Yes. And that's when they do these things. Right. Yeah, that's fine. Some winter house cleaning and spring house cleaning.
Good. Well, there are green flyers out there, so those of you who are interested, we are setting up that. Well, again, I want to thank you. And one other thing, could you just spell glutamic acid, please? And also, what is the dosage?
Who?
Glutamic.
I don't.
Okay, I'll look it up. That's all right.
What? Oh, glutamic acid. Glue.
GL, all right.
Oh, yeah. We went into a Negro dialect there, didn't we? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's GLUL. Yeah.
Well, again,
that you would have to do at least 2,000 to 4,000 in between meals or on an empty stomach or with some fruit, but don't take it with protein.
Right. Are you going to be around the area for a while now to see clients or patients?
I guess so. Yeah, I'll be here for a bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
See, this place hurts my liver. New Jersey and New York hurts my liver. And I always get sick when I come into, I actually vomit. I used to vomit about 2 or 3 days when I was come up to New York. But now I'm getting better. So I took a lot of lysine when I came up this way to combat whatever may be going on. And I always say special prayers when I pass over this area in an airplane even. Because it hurts my liver.
I can understand.
But I'll stay a little while.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, again, thank you and God bless you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I have two questions. If you talk about the effects of the hepatitis B shot on particularly children, everybody, but particularly children, I was speaking to a recently married an in-law of mine, and she was telling, I asked her about the shot. Her baby's 4 months old, and she let them give her the shot.
Vitamin A would be just better. Should have given the kids some vitamin A, but she was all that worried about it. Vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E. The shot makes the body toxic. It poisons the system. It weakens the baby's system. It's just uncalled for, really.
But is that a sneaky way to introduce the AIDS virus into the...
I don't know what all they're putting in the little capsules. If it's so safe, I used to just ask them to eat it. I said, well, why don't you eat it if it's so safe with the doctors? But they knew I was crazy anyway. But nonetheless, I don't know what all they're putting in that, because they're not too worried about that virus, as we call it, because that's never been identified, you know, as a virus in the first place. It's just some kind of thing they're laying on the public. The thing that they're doing now is mostly genetically altering black people. They are playing a heavier game than playing the little virus attack, which is chemical warfare. They're going into genetic warfare, where they're just cloning the kids. And that's far more lethal than the bacterial warfare. Yeah.
What about Alzheimer's? My father has that. We suspect. I mean, he has dementia. And,
need to cleanse that man's system. You know, if he would go onto some juice, it would be nice. Any kind, raw, carrot, beets, flush the system out and get some of that constipation going out of the rectum and colon and kind of free up that area. If he doesn't like to take enemas, the one you do get in there, let it be a good one. So put some laxative in the enema wart itself and give him a laxative enema like Senna or Cascara Sagrada. Just put it in the enema wart itself and flush him out with that.
last question. What about this ozone, water, ozone therapy, as far as healing powers of it?
Well, see, you're an African woman, and you're going to have some problems there because of the electrical waves, as we call it. These waves that come from vacuum cleaners, toasters, infrared waves, microwaves, radio, and blenders, and all these things emanating these waves that wreak havoc on the pineal gland. They're actually toxic to the system. They have a fancy name for it, but they alter the system itself. They diminish the ability of the body to defend itself. So all of these are waves to us. We see some waves the body interprets as light, another one interprets as music, but all of it's waves, and waves go right to the pineal gland, because the pineal gland is the center of that kind of electrical charge. That's how they duplicated what they call computer chips, and all that comes out of the study of melanin. You see, so they know that our pineal gland is going to store and try to balance. You know, when you get into waves, you get into this negative and positive thing. So they tell you that unlikes attract. You ever heard that thing, your direct opposite attract? But if you put the direct opposites together, the first thing they're going to do is harmonize. The positive end will no longer be positive, and the negative end will no longer be negative. It'll be just in harmony. Harmony attracts. That's the law of nature, to balance and put everything in harmony. So when the person is going into these waves, the pineal gland says harmony. So it overworks this pineal gland and sends it into another direction altogether and takes it off of the course of what it should be doing, which is defending your body and doing some other things. So all of these decrease the body and cause what they call a melanin deficiency. And a melanin deficiency leads to what they call obsessive compulsive behavior, which is what black people say, acting crazy. You see?
The actual melanin and color.
Why they start losing it?
Yeah, how does that happen? You know, when they start turning white?
Well, some people that happens because they're deficient in hydrochloric acid. Some people. They don't have enough hydrochloric acid, so they're going to develop these little white spots on their skin, as you're talking about. That's because they're eating these other people's food, and it causes a drain of the hydrochloric acid. See, the direct opposite, like you see white people, they just start getting color as they get old, 70 years old. They're just developing color, which they call liver spots. Yeah, they're just getting into all that thing. You see, they're trying to get to color, and their diet, the opposite happens to us. Just like a black lady African lady putting on a white woman's makeup. There's something on the market. No, they took that off. A lot of things that are on the market, they took off the market that would actually work with that. I can't think of the name of it because it's been illegal so long. But I would go with that first, and I would always use what they call a melanin stimulating kind of thing of any sort. Always use something like hawthorn berries or glutamic acid or lysine, because lysine helps regulate rhythm. So always take a lysine or glutamic acid and some gotu kola for the melanin. Gotu kola and ginkgo biloba. Take the ginkgo or ginkgo and gotu kola. Combine them both together because it's going to increase the blood to the brain. And then to increase the rhythm, take some lysine or tyrosine, just to get the rhythm going on. And the rhythm is the pineal gland. So in conjunction with any treatment that you take, if you're an African person, you got to go at the pineal gland with the ginkgo and the gotu kola, along with some glutamic acid or lysine or tyrosine, because you got to stimulate that gland, because that's the one that takes the bacteria out of the system. Melanin is used to transport bacteria out of the system. It combines with the bacterial virus and takes it right out of the body through perspiration. So it's actually what they call an immune defense device. So once you stimulate that pineal gland, you're going to get extra help for you. The Europeans are not worried about the pineal gland because it's 90% sand in their body. So sometimes they don't even show it in an anatomy book.
The questions you've asked, have you ever asked your doctor before? Can you have your doctor sit down and interrogate, put him through this? I think you should express your appreciation to this brother. Dr. Afrika, that you did not get to the slide, so we have to make that arrangement.
Some other time. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Soon.
Okay.
Very soon.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. I have tapes over there and videos. That's in case you want.
Oh, yeah. All right. We got the tapes, the videos, his book over there, to bring the book over here and to get him to autograph it and whatnot. And we're planning to have him back soon.